I didn't even have my phone or anything, so like I couldn't talk to my mom. I was just kind of scared.
Ooh, that's hard, man.
Very
all these children,
Yeah.
like, you know, they just kids. And so there was a new mass school pew in Georgia where 2 teachers and 2 students all lost their lives and 9 also were injured.
My goodness.
So the entire story is crazy about what happened, and the reports that are coming out wild. What we know now is that it looks like the mass pewer was 14 years old.
14?
Exactly. And his name was Colt Gray.
We're going to begin tonight with a distinctly American tragedy, a mass shooting at a school, this time at a high school in Georgia. It started around 10:23 this morning when police say a teenage gunman opened fire at Appalachia High School. That's about 45 miles northeast of Atlanta. 4 people are dead, 9 others wounded. Students and teachers scrambled to take cover as witnesses described gunshots and blood. One teen texted, "I love you," to his parents, and families rushed towards the school in search of their kids. Nearby streets littered with abandoned cars as mothers and fathers described running miles to reach their children. President Biden said, quote, "We cannot continue to accept this as normal." CBS's Mark Strassman is on the scene. Good evening, Mark.
High went into lockdown this morning. At first, many students thought it was a drill. And then they heard gunshots. Winder, Georgia's moment of dread. An active rampaging through Appalachia High School.
He started shooting like 10 times. He shot at least 10 times. I had saw one of my classmates on the ground bleeding so bad.
Hurry up now, come on, let's go.
Inside the school, gunshot, panic.
When did you first realize it was real?
And I was in chemistry, and we heard loud banging, and then we heard screaming. As soon as I heard screaming, I was like, oh, this is for real.
And carnage. 4 people killed, 2 teachers and 2 students. 9 others were injured.
I never imagined that I would be speaking to the media.
It looks like they were able to eventually take the kid, also, it was crazy because he was a kid, into custody as well, because he knew that things weren't going to end well for him once they kind of got him cornered. The wild part about this is that, you know, it does keep happening and it doesn't seem like we have a solution. I am pro-gun. And I don't know what the solution is to this situation. I don't know what type of measures that we need to take. But the way that the newscaster started off the whole thing was very interesting. How she said this is a distinctly American occurrence. This does not happen in other countries. This is not like, this is what happens here, where your kids aren't safe at school. And they don't even have to be no crazy, you know, bad guy that breaks in or sneaks in through the back door. It can be another child in the classroom that goes there. What you'll see later on is the kids talking about basically everything that they went through. And like, you know, of course, school for them has been canceled for the rest of the week, but they're going to be expected to come back. And can you imagine having to come back to the school? You've now inflicted, what, a few hundred, maybe, what, 1,000 kids with PTSD? Not even to mention the teachers and the faculty. So put them back into the school, and they're supposed to act like, you know, they weren't here a few days ago and someone came in with a, you know, a firearm. They saw this happen, you know, the gore, the tragedy, and now for them to have to go back and relive that and then be expected to focus and graduate and go about their lives is crazy. So the fact that this is something that is consistently happening to our children, and it's not just the ones that lose their lives, and that's terrible as well, but it's the ones that have to then live with the fact they were a part of a world where that could happen to them, and then have to, man, that PTSD will follow you the rest of your life. So you can just hear it when they talk about it. They just seem shell-shocked.
Sophomore Melanie Alvarez.
What was going through your mind?
I was scared because I didn't know if my mom was informed. I was crying. I was scared I was gonna die.
Were other kids doing the same thing?
Yeah, all of us were crying.
The alleged shooter, now in custody, identified as 14-year-old Colt Gray.
And our school resource officer engaged him, and the shooter quickly realized that if he did not give up, that it would end with an OIS, or an officer-involved shooting.
Hundreds of parents raced from around.
I just don't understand. Like, yes, I understand. Yeah, you want the bad guy to go bye-bye. It's hard when the bad guy's a 14-year-old kid. And we got to really start looking at mental health and try to figure out, like, there's a mental health problem. What the hell is going on with our children, you know what I'm saying, and in these schools to make this okay? So this is a 16-year-old who's talking to CNN and telling them how, you know, the guy who did this, how he sat next to her in algebra class. And she said that he left class early around 9:45 a.m. but didn't take a bathroom pass. She thought he might be skipping. thing. Toward the end of class, someone told her teacher over the loudspeaker to check their email, she said. Shortly after, Gray was outside the classroom door, which was shut, Layla said. Another student who went to the door jumped backwards when she saw he had a gun. I guess he saw we weren't going to let him in, Layla said. And I guess the classroom next to me, their door was open, so I think he started in the classroom. That's crazy.
Wow.
At first, she told CNN she heard a loud burst of gunfire, maybe 10 to 15 shots, and then they were kind of just one after another. Students dropped to the floor and crawled to the corner, Layla said. It seemed like this wasn't something he planned to do too well. Or he wasn't really strong with the gun because he didn't really try and shoot our door. Once he saw he couldn't get in our room, he just went to the next one. Well, cowards choose the path of least resistance.
But he was at the door and they almost let him in until they backed up, and then he turned away, and that's when you hear the moment that it happened. He was at the door and I knew they were looking for him already, but he was at the door and they almost let him in until they backed up, and then he turned away, and that's when you hear the first rounds of fire.
So he was in class with you, in algebra class, he left. Then he came back, was at the door, and then knocking to be let back in. Why? You told me something about the doors.
Yeah, they lock automatically, so you have to be let in to come back into our classroom. So I think he wanted to come to us first.
Come to you first.
Jeez. If it wasn't for that girl checking, because what if she just didn't even look and open the door?
Right.
And see, I thought the teacher was smart enough to have locked the door.
Me too.
It seemed like the door's just locked, which, it's prison type shit. But, it's glad that it saved some lives, literally.
This is just so scary and hurtful.
I heard screaming, and they unlocked my door, and they came in with the flashlight and the gun. We had to have our hands up and stuff, and then that's when they took us outside.
Wait, who came with them? The individuals that were opening fire in the school?
No, not the individuals. The police came, and they got us.
Police came in to save you. Can you describe those tense moments, what that was like?
I don't know. It was just it was scary. My heart was kind of racing. I didn't even have my phone or anything, so I couldn't talk to my mom. I was just kind of scared.
Ooh, that's hard, man.
Very
all these
hard.
Children.
Yeah.
They just kids. And
I think
know.
that even the part of being saved by the police and how they had to walk out,
it's still traumatic.
Everything is traumatic.
Yeah, there's no part of that that's not traumatic. Now, according to the authorities, they spoke to the suspect and his father last year. The suspect was interviewed by local law enforcement in May 2023 after the FBI received several anonymous tips about online threats to commit a school shooting at an unidentified location and time, according to a joint statement from the FBI Atlanta office. And what the hell? So you telling me that he was already saying this? The online threats included photographs of firearms, the statement said. The father stated he had hunting guns in the house, but the subject did not have unsupervised access to them, which apparently he was wrong because the kid that did this had an AR-15. The statement said the subject denied making the threats online. The FBI said that there was no probable cause for an arrest at the time. Wednesday is the deadliest of the 45 school shootings so far this calendar year. That is a crazy sentence.
So why was he interviewed?
It was interviewed because they got tips anonymously that somebody was supposed to go online about doing this. The FBI came, did an half-ass, took the guy's word for it, and just left. And then, and again, if the kid didn't do anything yet, I don't know how much they could have done.
Right.
And also, they do have these things called red flag laws where you can't take someone firearms away, but I don't think they're not very widespread, and I don't think Georgia has any. And I don't even think I necessarily support them, but maybe that could have been something that helped. But either way, the thing is what I believe about evil is if someone wants to do something like that, they're going to do it. I just don't understand. Now, would he have been able to get access and accomplish this if the father could have stopped it? No. And this is also something yes, that kid needs to go to jail. Parent definitely needs to go as well.
Something has to happen.
You have to be responsible. If you are a firearm owner, every firearm that is in your possession, every bullet that you own you are responsible for. And if someone is able to gain access, and we're not talking about an adult breaking into your house stealing something, we're talking about a child that shouldn't have had access, should not have been able to take that firearm, had no business being able to access it in any way. You are liable, and you should get some type of prison time as well, because it doesn't matter how crazy the kid was. If he didn't have access to a firearm, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right. And then when you stated that this happened happened in 2023. If the baby is 14 now, that means
Well,
he
was 13.
Come on, man. That baby had to be showing signs to that father.
Exactly.
Something has to been going on if this was happening when he was younger. This is crazy.
I also want to make sure we don't leave out the fact that, because this sentence is really crazy and it goes to show how wild this whole situation is. Wednesday's shooting is the deadliest of 45 school shootings this calendar year.
45.
Not 45 in the last 5 years. Not 45 since this has started happening. It's 45 this year. It's crazy work.
What is going on?
I think it's a big mental health problem. And I feel like until we take time to really figure out what's going on with us as a society and we know why we have these issues and what is going on with our children, we're going to keep having this problem. Because I don't think it's as simple as taking guns out of the equation. Because guns only allow for these things to happen at the scale they happen at. Granted, that is something that, not saying that that is not relevant, but the fact that these children are taking it upon themselves to do this to their classmates and even have the willingness, the ability, the mindset, and follow through to actually accomplish this says that there's something deeply mentally wrong. And if it won't be this, there will be something else. It'll just be a different method and fashion. And we're still going to have the same problem with these sick individuals, you know what I'm saying? And we got to figure out what the hell is going on with mental health in this country, and we got to figure it out fast.